Well, Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2025. We can believe it and ready to go. And even though the weather might be cold outside, we've got warm brains and hearts and ready to go inside here as we look forward to our session tonight and to the incoming indoor season, which I think is going to be hitting for most of us this weekend. So that's exciting to see now what all the fall has created. Our guest tonight is he's doing these back to backs. I'm glad that we're able to grab him here before things get too crazy. It's Coach Mike Mouse Holloway. And for those of you that aren't aware of it, while we've been over the vacation break or holiday break, he has become a noted author. And so he has a book out that we want to talk about today and get some tidbits. And a few of you maybe have read it or are reading it, and you can give us some insights too. And then he said he's open for any type of question. So hopefully you come prepared. I have my list of questions here ready to go too. So we'll see what we get as to it all. So again, Mouse, thank you so much for joining us
You're very
again.
welcome.
And why don't you tell us why a book? Why now?
Oh, well, I mean, I think, uh, well, folks have been after me to write one. My mom, my mother-in-law, my wife, some good friends of mine. And I started doing it before the pandemic. And I was working with a guy who was a SID here, Zach Derlam. And then, and that just kind of squelched everything, right? Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right. And so then after the pandemic started going a little bit, and then my mom got sick in the middle of 22. And so I kind of put everything on hold while I was trying to, help take care of her and running back and forth to Ohio a lot. And then when she passed away, right before she passed away, I promised her I was going to get this done. And so about probably I started working a little bit more of it in 2023, and then I got a call from someone that asked me if I was interested in writing a book. I said, "Well, interesting enough, I'm kind of in the middle of one." So,
Oh,
so I really started kind of cranking it up in March of 2024 with the goal of having it released by December, and it happened. A lot of prayer, a lot of late night writing on occasion, but it worked out well. It did.
now did you do this or did you have somebody helping you, like you say, that contacted you earlier, or how's it get going?
So I worked with I want to give a shout out to Bright Ray Publishing. They did a phenomenal job in helping me uh, get things in perspective. We met with them a couple of times. In the beginning, it was kind of, well, they're going to interview me, and then they're going to kind of put their thoughts and words together. And after a couple of sessions, I was like, guys, like I need to do this. This needs to be in my voice because I know people. I get just imagine Coach, reading that going, Michael, that's not you, right? So
Yeah. So these are the official words of Mouse Holloway then, right?
yeah, yeah,
That
exactly,
that's
exactly.
great. That
Yeah.
is excellent. Now, are you having future projects or coaching going to be your future
Um,
project right now?
I've got some notes that I've been building for about 7 weeks now, 8 weeks now on a leadership book. But I just I'm gonna just leave that alone for right now. Just try to win some more trophies this year, and then we'll get back to that. So
Yes, that'll add to the leadership aspect, obviously.
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I like I said, put the link there in the chat if any of you are not aware or can't find it. And again, as we usually do, if you have questions or comments for Coach as we go through, please raise your hand or put that you have a question in the chat, and then we can address it as we go. So this is to be a group activity, not just Mike and Sue chatting here, so we can have it there. Al, did you want to say something?
Yes, Mike, I read every word yesterday, the whole book, and I've known you since Gainesville High School, Pam Hawkins. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
19.
amazing. It's amazing how we both got started very similarly, had very early similar careers. Uh, I actually started running at Missouri, got scholarship taken away, and then went and worked my way through school. And I started college in fall of '69 and got my degree at St. Louis U while being the head coach there in 1980. So I started with a 100 kid track club with Nino Fenoy and the St. Louis group with Jackie Joyner Kersey and uh, did the same thing. I taught grade school without a degree, had two people that were very important to me, Monsignor Meyer, who in the Catholic Church, who in St. Louis put me in charge of developing track and field for St. Louis. And I mean, step by step, early on, other than I had no mother. She died when I was 9. So everything in your book early on, I could relate to.
That's great. That is something.
It's a great book, Mike.
Thank you
And
so
I lived a lot of, I was with you a lot of the way around. And I have to say one thing, and then I'll get off. I hurt my foot today, broke part of my foot, and but when I went down with cardiac arrest at the SEC championships in 2011, my son was the manager for our team, student manager. Actually, at that time, he was graduate assistant manager. And Harvey Glantz, the great late Grant, and Mike Holloway grabbed my son and held him when they brought me back to life. And I appreciate that so much, Mike.
You're very welcome, my man. I know you would have done the same thing for me. So
But
See,
I've got
these
to
are
get
the kind
off
of
because my foot
tidbits.
is broken and have to get it up above my head. So
well, Godspeed, man. We hope you get better real
Yeah,
soon.
you take care, Rand.
okay.
Well, Mike, what exactly is it? A coaching book, or tell us a little bit for those of us that haven't read it yet?
I mean, it's a life experience coaching. It's not you're looking for workouts. It's not, no, that's not there. You're looking for workout plans, that kind of thing. It's just, it kind of gives you an insight to who I am, in different aspects of my life. It'll probably give you a much better understanding of who I am and why I am the way I am, kind of so to speak. It'll definitely give you some insights to the people who have helped me and helped mold me to be the man that I am. And it'll definitely give you a great insight to my faith as well.
Okay. So it takes us back to Dayton, Ohio in the very beginning.
Columbus, Ohio.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, nothing personal against Dayton, but yeah, no, Columbus,
No,
the
I
cap,
hear you.
the cap.
The capital there. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess because I was listening to Tanja and she's Dayton, so
yeah,
that's the difference with it.
yeah.
So, what took you from Ohio to Florida, was it, or where?
Right. So we ran out of coal to heat our schools. Back in, I think it had to been early part of '77. So and the teachers were on strike. So our track coach, he was assistant coach actually at the time, Ed Stone, decided he was going to put 5 or 6 of us in a van and drive to Gainesville because when he was at Denison College, that's what they did. They came down for spring break. So we came down here and we spent like a week and a half training, and that's when I met Coach Johnson for the first time, and it changed my life. It did. It really did.
Can you elaborate a little as to what the difference was, or what?
I mean, the difference was like basically Ed changed my life because he saw something in me I didn't see in myself, and he saw it wasn't just my athletic ability. I was one of the top hurdlers in the country that year. After between Ed's tinkering and the little bit of tinkering I got from Brooks when I was in Gainesville for a few days, I went back and had a great senior season. But and then that led me to come to Santa Fe and train with Coach Johnson as well. So I had to, since 1977, Brooks was a vital part of my life.
Okay, great. As with all of our lives, I think definitely.
Right. Yes.
David, you've got a question for Coach.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Coach. Thank you for joining us
You're welcome.
tonight, and I'm looking forward to you reading your book. I just got it and looking forward to diving into it. My question for you is, how do you? Because I know I heard recently you spoke at the Iowa Coaches Clinic and you talked about how you don't really have staff meetings with your staff.
Right.
Um, Number one, how do you go about delegating responsibilities to the staff? And then two, being that you have a group of post collegiates, how do you balance your time coaching them and your team at Florida?
Well, the answer to the first question is, my staff knows what they expected of them before I ever hire them. Coach Peterson's on the call; he can speak to that. We had long conversations of what I've expected from him. And then, his staff, obviously his responsibility has changed. But I'm not just one that feels like, okay, so if I want to go to Coach Peterson and go, hey, I need you to, because he's in charge of our equipment now. I don't need to have a full staff meeting to spend 5 minutes in Coach Peterson's office to tell him I want equipment order. I mean, we've wasted people's time. The other part of that is that we are quite a silly bunch, and we really enjoy being around each other. So it becomes a little bit of a comedy hour when we're all together. So I have to be cognizant of that. And full transparency, if I send a text message here in a few minutes and go, everybody meet me in my office tomorrow morning, they start texting each other saying, which one of y'all messed up, right? Because we only have staff meetings if there's a problem. We don't have very many. They don't mess up often. But and in terms of the browsing, I mean, I'm blessed that I have a director of ops and assistant director of ops, and I've got people that do the things that order equipment. Like if Coach Peterson needs to order something, he just goes downstairs and tell our equipment manager Frank what he needs. So I don't have to be bogged down in my office with paperwork and stuff like that. So I'm on the track from 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock almost every day. And the post collegians come out there early, they get their work done. And so there's never a mixture of them being out there when the collegians are out there. Everybody gets, I think a great measure of our success is because we spend individualized time with every athlete. Like there's never a time where, like, I think we've got like 8 short sprinters on the men's side. They're never on the track at the same time. They're in groups of 3s or groups of 4s or, something like that. There's never all out there at the same time because I can't coach 8 people at the same time, not at a high level anyway. So,
Any other question, David?
So with Andre DeGrasse coming in to your group,
mm-hmm.
He's further in his career and he's had such success. Can you kind of talk about how that came about, like how he came about joining your group?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. Anna Hall's here. Paul Doyle's her agent. Paul Doyle's also Andre and Nia's agent. And so, when they were looking for a place to go, he said, let's go down to Gainesville and talk to Mouse. And they came down and talked to me. And we met for about an hour. And then about a week later, they said, okay, we're buying a house. We'll see you there. See you there in a couple, as soon as we get it settled in the house. So that was just, Paul really likes what we do here. That specialized attention we talked about. I think that the best way I can describe it to you is Daryl Anderson, who's my best friend. When he and TCU parted ways, Daryl became my volunteer assistant, and he and Ronnie Baker came here for a week. And when I was taking them back to the airport, Ronnie said he felt like he'd been at an NFL camp because every day, like you walk out and everything's set up. Like the very first day of practice with me, Daryl and I, we drop my grandson off at school. We come in the office and I'm doing stuff, and and he goes, it's 10 o'clock. Yeah, I go to practice. I'm like, well, we're fine. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, we're fine. Don't worry about it. So we'll go out there in a few minutes. So about 10:20, we walk out on the track and we just start coaching because we have a group of 6 to 8 managers to set everything up for us. So, that's, kind of the big part of what we do here. Like I'm not moving hurdles. Like Coach Peterson gets fussed at all the time for moving hurdles and stuff. Good job. So
Well, that yeah, because that was one of my questions actually, is how you coordinated the pro group, who is obviously very successful, and the college group. So are you coaching Nia now too?
Yes, ma'am. I am.
Oh, wow. Okay. Veronica, you've got some questions?
I do, yes. I'm actually at Denison in Ohio. So we don't go to Florida anymore. I wish we did. But my question is I'm curious because I'm starting to experiment a little bit with transfer recruiting. And it seems like all of your transfer students have really not only excelled athletically, but from a character perspective, done a really good job of like just fitting in with your team. So I'm curious, what do you look for and who do you talk to when a student is interested in transferring to your team? Like, are you talking to their former college coach, their high school coach, family? What traits are you looking for?
I mean, look, honestly, we try to talk to the college coach, and the only bad thing about that is if the coach doesn't want him on the team anymore, to be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
please take him." Right? So,
Yeah.
but I think the biggest thing is that we help them understand that there's an expectation. If they've been around us and watch what we do, they know who we are. These athletes talk. So it's not anything we do here is not a surprise to them. And we've had some come in here and not buy in and didn't work out quite well enough for them. But the ones who come in and plug into what we call the Florida way, they're fine. And we let them know right up front, like we're not changing. Like this is who we are. It's how we do things. This is what we tolerate. This is what we don't. And if you want to be a part of this, then hey, come on in. We'll take care of you. But if you don't, then we can go back in the portal and go be somebody else's headache. So, but I think the biggest thing is that we're trying to identify the athletes that aren't disgruntled because
Mm.
if you get an athlete that's leaving because they have issues or they're angry about something, they bring that anger to our campus with them. And we've had a couple of those, and it's taken us, sometimes as long as a year to get them to stop being angry, at whoever they left. I had a young lady yelling at me once, and she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to her former coach the whole time. You know, so yeah.
Awesome. And I'm curious too, because I've encountered that once so far that the student was mainly disgruntled with your college coach. And it's hard to figure out, because not all coaches are perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't know if anyone here would admit to
I,
being perfect.
no,
So it's hard to suss out, is it
yeah.
kid or is it the coach? And you never want to think poorly of a coach, but have you ever kind of had to, like, have you ever dug in the weeds to figure out if it's the kid or the coach,
Well,
if you don't know the coach?
I think what you can do is just ask them questions. Like why are you leaving? Like what was your problem? And so if they start complaining about the coach, and the watchword for me is he or she didn't know what they were doing.
Mm.
That's right, because that tells me you want to be a coach, and then that means you don't need to be here. That's just not what we do here. We had a women's team meeting this morning, and I asked them to tell me which one of them I asked to be a coach, and of course everybody said no because we're on your national letter to say I want you to come here and coach. So I think that's you just have to ask them, and then you have to be strong when you get them. You have to let them know right away who's in charge, and it just even goes back to the staff meeting thing. If I've got to have a staff meeting every week to show that I'm the head of the program, then I'm not doing my job, right? I I I don't have staff meetings because I want to have a relationship with Nick Peterson. I want to have a relationship with Melanie Welty and Yannick Hart and Holland Shear and Eric and everybody on my staff. So I go to them and I talk to my staff every day. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we're just all out there willy nilly doing whatever the heck we want. But like everybody, I look everybody in the eye every day and we have a short conversation. Even if it's sometimes like Coach Worski is probably the worst one. That dude's on the track all day long. So I try to catch him as soon as he walks in the office. Hey, how you doing? How's your wife doing? Anything you need from me? And I stop by throws practice every day just to check him out and root for him a little bit. So it's just a communication skill. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Andy, how about you?
Good evening, Mike.
Good evening.
I don't know if this fits in the category of a question, and I'm not trolling anybody on here, but I know your background. You came out of high school, and I spent my entire career coaching high school, and especially in the beginning, as a high school coach, you pretty much have to do everything. I mean, because you don't have a staff, at least back when I started, and probably when you started, you didn't have, quote, a staff that you could break up into event groups, etc. I mean, if it was going to get done, you did it. And that meant putting on dual meets or raking pits or, putting out the hurdles. It didn't get done unless you did it. And I always felt that that was a great laboratory for learning the sport and learning how to coach. And I think a lot of that nowadays is missing. I mean, people rarely go that route. I at least that's my impression. They either, have a pro career, a competitive career, and then they go into coaching at the collegiate level or private coaching or whatever. And so from my perspective, that base is lost or is getting lost. And I'd just like to, hear your thoughts on that aspect of how the sports evolved, how coaching has evolved.
Yeah, Andy, I don't think there's any doubt that, I started at the club level first, and then I went to high school, and then I, spent some time with Lau Knutson here at the university with the women's side, and I went back to high school, and then I, came on with Doug Brown. But, when I was a high school coach, you're right, I didn't have any assistants. I had maybe one guy that helped me. Like I had a volunteer throws coach, and I had another guy to help me with the jumps a little bit. But, everything from the 100 up to the 2 mile, I coached myself. And so it was chaos every day. But now that I do have help, it taught me how to be organized. It taught me how to plan. Like when I was a high school coach, if you came to my practices, there was these yellow tablets sitting on the bleachers, and that's where everybody's workouts were. And also not only were there workouts, there were what lanes they were doing the workouts in were on the tablets, right? So it taught me to be organized, and it taught me, to help develop. And it also helped me understand that it's not just always about the athletic side of it. It's about the mental side of it. You never know what a 14, 15, 16 or 17-year-old kid is going through at home, So, taught me to listen and understand as well. So I think there's some value to that, but I don't want to knock anybody that starts at the collegiate level. I would just say that anybody that's fortunate enough to do that, keep learning. Heck, Coach Peterson and I just had a 10-minute conversation that he could explain to me in 2, but that's what Nick does, about some activity he's been doing in practice. I've been very intrigued with. So, yeah, keep learning.
Marcia.
Being the director of the program, and I've the same title at my school. It's obviously it's a much smaller program, much smaller school. But as a head coach, I don't get involved in the other workouts, but I do like to drop by and see what's going on, so I can learn more about the throws or the jumps or things that I'm not as familiar with. You said you went and dropped by the throws practice. How important do you think it is for the student athletes in those other event groups to know that you're on their side too, and not just like, oh, I can only go talk to the throws coach, or I can only go talk to my jumps coach or distance coach? How important is it that they see you as a leader who cares about all of them? Because I try to do that, and I run myself a little thin sometimes, but that's what I do. And I wanted to know what you thought about that.
I think it's paramount. I think they understand that you care, that it's not just about, the athletic side of it. You care about them as people. So absolutely. I don't go to the jump to talk to Coach Peterson. I go to talk to the athletes. I go to the throws to talk to the athletes, the distance runners. I mean, we have sessions with the distance runners in the mornings that my assistant is doing it now, but in the beginning it was me teaching them how to accelerate. I'm meeting them out there at 8:00 in the morning to teach them how to do acceleration mechanics. And I think it's important that they know that I care. I think it's important that they know that I know their names and I know where they're from. And it gets to be a bit cumbersome when you got 100 people, but I work hard at it. I do. And I'm a nickname guy, so I give people nicknames so I can help remember who they are. So that's helpful as well. But I think it's very important, Marcia, that they see you, that they know that you know what they're doing, and you know who they are. You'd be surprised just a simple hello what it'll do for an athlete sometimes.
Yeah, because I've heard of some coach, because we had a few transfers in this year that came from larger programs, and they said they felt that the head coach was unapproachable. And one of the reasons they liked me is they felt that I was approachable. And I was like, well, maybe they just have too many people. But then I've also heard some of the coaches, and I'm not going to name names because how you run your program is like up to you, but they say, oh, my jumps coach handles all the jumpers. I don't even, go out to jumps, or I don't even go watch. And when I became a head coach, one of my first missions was I was going to be there if we had athletes competing. I don't care if I was their event coach or not. I wasn't going to be sitting at the hotel or out on a run if I had somebody, long jumping or throwing the shot.
I'm not that guy either. And I mean, look, I'm at the jump spit, during competitions. There are times when I'm standing right beside Coach Peterson. I'm standing behind him. I'm not coaching the jumps. That's not my job. Nick happens to be damn good at what he does. But a lot of times I'm just there to kind of keep Coach Peterson calm. He can be a little squirrely sometimes. He and I both agree on that. So sometimes I'm just there to make him laugh and, let him relax a little bit. I'm just kind of his buffer. But the same thing with the throws. I can see when a discus throws far, but I have no idea how to get you to do it. I think that, I talked to a Cuban coach once, and he told me, he said, that's what's so wrong with you American coaches. Y'all try to do everything, right? He goes, the number of American coaches that think that they can coach 12 events is amazing to him. And and it makes sense. So I think I'm very competent at the sprints and hurdles, and I want to stay there. But if I spend time trying to be a throws coach or trying to be a jumps coach or trying to coach the distances, it's going to water down what I do best. And I'm not going to do that. So I think you got to support your athletes. You got to support your coaches. But I'm never going over there trying to tell Eric how to teach somebody how to throw the hammer. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I don't do that either. I just kind of wanted to know if I was doing the right thing, or some other coaches were saying, just give your assistants their jobs, and
right.
Basically, you don't see them unless you're handing out meal money or something. Okay, thanks. I kind of like these calls because sometimes I feel like, am I doing the right stuff, or am I overextending myself? And appreciate it.
Well, you will.
Coach, you had mentioned about the Florida Way a few minutes ago. Can you elaborate what the Florida Way is?
The first basis of the Florida Way is trust, and that trust comes in the athletes trusting us, and not just the coaching staff, but the strength and conditioning staff, the nutritionists, the trainers, the academic counselors. Everybody that's a part of the program has to be trusted, and you have to plug in and let the people do their jobs. The other thing we talk about a lot here is patience, because we've all had the athlete that walks in the door and he's run 10.4, and I'm going to run 9.9 this year. Well, can we run 10.3 first, right? So we talk to him about the process. We talk to him about the patience. And the biggest thing is, because of our success, then we can show them, if you'll trust us, this will happen. But we always get, an athlete every now and then that thinks they know more than we do and doesn't want to trust, and then they're frustrated. And we also get the athletes that, you get a guy that comes in at 46 seconds and he runs 44, and now I don't need to be doing that. I need to be doing more of this. So we get that too. But I think the biggest thing is that we're a family. And I mean, when I say a family, I'm not just talking about myself and the team and the coaches. It's the trainers, it's the nutritionists, it's the strength coach, it's everybody involved with the program. And so the Florida Way encompasses everybody that's involved with the program. And we just ask everybody to trust and believe. Look, Nick Peterson, I'm going to ask him to speak up here, because the number of times that we've had a staff meeting and I've said something was going to happen and he walked away and kind of jokingly said, "Oh, the old man's crazy. That's not going to happen." Right. And then it does. And he has to come back and apologize to me. So, but I mean, because we trust each other, because we believe in each other, we'll sit in the room. I spend a lot of time talking to my associate head coaches, he and Coach Bolton. We'll go back and forth about things. And sometimes we'll leave there and we're doing it their way. But whoever way we decide we're going to do it, we all stick to it. None of us walks out of that office and goes and says something else different to other people on the staff or anywhere in our community. So the Florida Way just basically is plugging into who we are and trusting what we
do. Okay.
I mean, I can speak to that from both of the questions from before. I mean, the way he supports us is really important. And I can tell you it's important to assistant coaches. It's important to the jump athletes. They know how much Coach Holloway cares. Like, he's not just the head coach. He knows their name. He knows about their life. He knows where they're from. Like, that's important to the athletes, but it's also important to us. I mean, especially, I'm getting old now. I'm not the 13-year-old Coach Holloway calls me, but when I was first there and I was a pretty young coach trying to figure it out, having Coach Holloway help develop, and I am not the same coach I was when I arrived, Lord, and a lot of that because Coach Holloway has pushed me, right? He dragging, screaming, fighting at times, but he's going to push all of us to be better. It isn't just the athletes. He's going to do that to the entire staff. Um, and so I think that also ties into the Florida way. And, to steal Coach Holloway's comment that he's the straw that stirs the drink, you can find Coach Holloway in all of us, in how we coach and what we do, because he's had his imprint on how we coach and what we do throughout. And, that's part of the Florida way. And I think that's why it works so well too, is because we do trust. And yes, I do walk out of meetings thinking he's crazy sometimes. And I do have to go back in and be like, you were right. Exactly what you said happened. But that's why we work too. That's why it works for us.
Great, great. Yeah, anytime, Nick, you feel you need to jump in, please do so with this because we're getting a benefit here with you. I was waiting for Melanie or Melty to show up here too. But with the assistant coach and head coach relationship here, this sounds like a very unique one and special. What are some things that coach you look for in an assistant and or that you try to help if your assistant does want to become a head coach and leave the Florida way? What kind of input or what kind of strategies do you have for that?
Well, I think the first thing is like, it's communication. And I tell all of them, if you want to be a head coach, you need to come in here, you need to sit down, we need to talk, we need to have conversations. I'm not going to chase you down, but I'm here. My door, I say my door is open. It's always closed. And it's closed because I've never been diagnosed, but I'm AD something. I don't know what I am. But so I close my door so I don't get distracted. But if you knock on my door, I will open it. And so I think the biggest thing is, and I say this to the athletes, I say this to my staff, if you just pay attention, because I don't have any secrets. It's not like I'm walking around and quietly doing things. Like I'm talking, like, Nick and I have conversations about acceleration. Nick and I have conversations about, you know, hurdling, we're just sitting there talking, Coach Palmer and I, my distance coach, we had a long conversation about the 400 last year. And then that turned into a conversation about the 800. So we're talking about stuff in that way. Also, when I just have these conversations, I get to know them better as people. And, because of my success and because of the things that have been, the accolades I've got, some people tend to look at me and think that I'm unapproachable, and I'm not. So I have to try to break those barriers down, even with my staff sometimes. Like to let them know, hey, look, I'm human. I make mistakes like you do. I saw this happen when I was a young coach. Let me help you avoid that as you go through this process. And I think it's just as important as a coach, the head coach of the program, to let your assistants know you care about them more than, their coaching ability. I jokingly tell Nick all the time, I like him, but I love his family. So his boys are my boys. They don't know that, but they're my boys. I took them from Nick a long time ago. So
That's cool. Well, one thing that I found interesting, I had mentioned earlier that heard Jasmine Moore speak on long jump and triple jump this past weekend. And one thing that she mentioned, which I found interesting and I did want to ask, is she said that she trains with you, Coach Holloway, at the very beginning of the season, more so than Coach Peterson, and that she doesn't really, this is the way I understood it, that she didn't really work on long jump stuff for maybe a month or two into the practice. And so I was just wondering how you guys work on that with like a jumpers, let's say.
Well, I mean, I think that, one, we're going to bring Brooks Johnson for that, right? Because he was always challenging both of us to make them better on the runway. So Nick and I will sit down and talk. And Nick and I both believe that you have to evolve and get better. And as Nick always says, is like, if I'm going to make them better sprinters, I'm going to give them to you for 4 or 5 weeks and let you do that, right? The great thing about it, though, Nick is standing right beside me the whole time. Like if I have to walk over here and do something with a hurdler, Nick says, Coach, watch this for me. Jasmine's up again, right? So that way, not only am I helping Jasmine, but I'm helping Nick get better so Nick can continue the process and pour that into somebody else. So, and then I think Coach Peterson would agree. We both believe that, the approach is that's what the jump is. It's 99% of what you do in the long jump is the approach. So if we can master that and if you watch Jasmine over the last 3 years, every year she's gotten a little bit better with her mechanics. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm gonna give Coach Johnson credit for that, because he told me, he said, if you try to change it all at one time, it's going to make her go backwards. Yeah. So just change a little bit at a time, So she's getting it.
Right, definitely. Well, Nick, how long, from a jumping point of view now, how long do you work on just the approach and not any action in the pit?
I mean, we're working approach mechanics from week one, right?
Day one, yeah.
But it's in a different way. It may not be on the runway. It may not be taking off, but we're working approach mechanics from day one. But I'm also a firm believer that we have to get fit and we have to get fast before we start working on the approach. Because if I start working on the approach and then 6 weeks down the line, we're considerably faster, that approach has changed tremendously. We work the rhythm of the approach a ton, because the rhythm stays the same regardless of how much faster you get. And as long as you're continuing to work on mechanics, that rhythm stays the same. But as Coach Holloway said, speed is the foundation of the jumps. Whether you're a long jumper or you're a triple jumper, speed is the biggest part of what we do. So I would be a fool not to use the greatest sprint coach on the planet and have him involved with my pro group, my collegians. It doesn't matter. If we're trying to get faster, I want Coach Holloway's eye on it. And I think that's something why we're so successful is we learn how to sprint. We work on mechanics a lot. Coach Holloway used the word evolve, and I talked to you guys earlier about how he pushes me, and he pushed me this summer that I need to get better at that, and I need to get better at understanding acceleration mechanics, and I got to give him credit, because I delved into it deep this summer, and I think every day Coach Holloway comes over and sarcastically tells me he's proud of me.
I'm so proud of you.
But with Jazz specifically, it kind of speaks to the transfer thing. We got her; she was already very, very good. And we could have just said, hey, let's just let Jazz be Jazz, and she'd still be really good. She probably would have won a lot of things, but we tinkered, we messed, and we made some changes, and we've kind of seen the benefits of that, and it's interesting because we've had a tough week with Jazz this week, and I won't go into details with it, but it's in the same way that she's getting ready to level up and getting ready to evolve. There's this sense of being uncomfortable. And we've got to just keep pushing through that. And I just keep relying and helping, letting Coach Holloway help all of us through that. It's not just Jazz, but everybody in the program, make them uncomfortable so that, when they keep leveling up, they're ready to do what they're ready to do.
Right. And coaches, that's a rider downer, as they say, that the only way you're going to get better is to become uncomfortable what you're doing. And then the uncomfortable becomes comfortable. And then you keep pushing. Right.
The key is like you always say, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
We have to get uncomfortable again. Right. Because the moment you get comfortable, you get stagnant, you stay there, and you're just never going to get better. Right. It's impossible. So we make our, athletes uncomfortable a lot. But again, I think that's the key to our success. We make them uncomfortable in practice so they don't get uncomfortable in the competition.
Right. Excellent. Well, no, she was very complimentary of how things were going, and she said it was a little frustrating right now just coming back and getting into things, but again, she was all very positive about it. Kenny, have you got some questions for us?
Good evening, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing well, Kenny. How are you?
I'm great. In your book, you talked about how you started with recruiting from an assistant, recruiting as a head coach, and then building the program at Florida National Championship program. So my question to you is, obviously, like you've had some national champions at the collegiate level. When you're recruiting and those national champions are leaving, like what is the conversation you're having with your staff? So for example, your Grants, your Jasmine Moores, your Anna Halls, like they're about to graduate or they're about to go pro. Do we try to replace them, or are we obviously you can't replace them because they're one of one.
It's not like, okay, I'm gonna go around here and pick Grant Holloway off this tree over here. Give me another one.
Right, right, right. But is it best available, or just I'm just trying to dive more into like your
Okay,
thought process of
so
recruiting.
our recruiting is, obviously is worldwide. And I think the biggest thing for us is we go after athletes who we think fit our paradigm. So I'm gonna reference Coach Johnson a lot. I jokingly say, but maybe not joke. I feel like Brooks his spirit jumped into me when he left it, right? And so like all these things that he's been saying to me for years are just at the forefront of all my thoughts every day. And so the first thing Coach taught me about recruiting is don't recruit off the track and field news list, right? Don't go to the list and go the top 5 people I'm gonna recruit, because those aren't your best people. Because the percentage of athletes that are in the top 5 or top 10 all time in high schools, very few of them ever get to be in the top 10 on the all-time US list. If you go to the all-time top 10 list on the high school boys from the 100 meters, I think there's 2 of those guys that made it to the top 10 list. So recruit ability, recruit the ability to get better, recruit people who have great attitudes. And the biggest thing for me is I like to go to a meet and watch an athlete compete. And honestly, I want to see 2 things. I want to see how they act when they win, and I want to see how they act when they lose. The athlete that loses, that congratulates the other competitor and has the attitude, okay, I'll just see him next time, that's the guy or girl I want. The athlete that loses, that throws a tantrum, want no parts of that. The athlete that wins, that's over the top when they win, not so sure we want that one either. We try to be very particular who we bring in here. But the thing is like, so we've got people that are seniors this year. So we're not trying to replace them now, because we have people that are juniors that fill that role. So it's a constant rollover. As a young coach at Buell's High School, there's a little town, maybe about 45 minutes from here, Interlaken High School. And they were a class 2A power. And they wore this T-shirt that said, "We don't rebuild, we simply reload." So we try to keep the gun loaded so we don't have to rebuild. So we're constantly reloading the gun.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Coach Williams, you've got a question. Well,
Can you hear me? Sorry.
There we go. Yeah.
All right. So on the same recruiting thing, I start now. I have an issue with making sure I have people that, and you said you're Florida way. So how do you know when you're recruiting these student athletes, they fit they're not just talking with what you're hoping they're saying, if that makes sense?
Right. Well, first of all, Coach was I haven't forgotten about you. Email, and I'm delving into it.
You're fine. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you even.
I promise you. I think the biggest thing is there's no guarantee that you're going to get the right answer, because most of the people you're talking to are trying to convince you they want to come to your university, right? So they're going to a lot of times tell you what you want to hear. But I think it's just you have to. I pray a lot about stuff, and I, and I ask God, if they're not supposed to be here, don't send them here. And I think the other side of it too is I really try to watch their body language. And the athlete that comes on the recruiting visit that's a problem is going to be a problem when they get to your campus. We had a young lady here years ago that came here, and we always bring them over to the house to have breakfast or lunch, depending on what time the football game is that weekend. And we were at my house like 2.5, 3 hours, and the young lady changed clothes 4 times. I'm good. That's going to be a problem down the road, right? So I think you just have to be just kind of like my grandmother used to call it her mother wit, right? Your instincts, your gut, and don't always recruit. Again, back to what I said, don't always recruit the talent. Don't always recruit the time. I shared this with a friend of mine. Chris Huff has reminded me that I told him this when he first started getting into this. If you miss out on the right one, they'll hurt you once or twice a year. But if you get the wrong one, they hurt you in your program every day. So just be very, very cognizant of that, and just do as much homework as you can, because there's no guarantee. We've been fortunate here. We hit a lot more than we miss here, but it takes a lot of work, a lot of background stuff we do as well.
So in that background stuff, are you talking to their club coaches or high school coaches? Are you talking to like maybe their teachers or something to help fill in that background knowledge or that information?
We don't really have access to teachers like that anymore. But we definitely talk to coaches. We talk to rival coaches. We talked, I mean, if you're talking to two girls that compete against each other and you say, well, what do you think about so-and-so? Right. And then what that'll also tell you is the athlete you're speaking to afraid of the competition if they both go. Right. It'll also give you some insight, just things like that. I'll be honest with you, recruiting's a lot like dating. To be honest with you, and even in that, they'd always tell you the truth, right? So, but I think at the end of the day, the big thing is like don't overthink it. I think that's another problem too. People tend to like really stress about things and overthink things. Follow your gut, follow your instincts, and like I said, don't ever sell your soul to get an athlete. Because if you beg them to come, you're gonna have to beg them to stay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's another writer downer. Is there? The whole conversations tonight are writer downers. DeAndre, you've had your hand up and down.
Thanks, Sue. It was probably applauding because Coach has said some of this stuff to me. So thank you, Coach, for being on again.
You're welcome.
I don't have much to say. I've read the book. I've already told about 10 people about the book, and my family's Columbus, Ohio as well. So I'm proud that I've had the opportunity to connect with you and continue to connect with you, and I'm happy to see the continued success.
Thank you.
I would say biggest thing, me and David were talking about this the other day, right? Like you got Nia and Andre hopping in the group. On your pro side of things, as you bring your philosophy, because you told me before, like a lot of the pro athletes know you. Either they've known you because you recruited them or they came out of your program. How do you continue to have that atmosphere and that same culture in the pro group that you have somewhat similar in your college group?
I mean, well, it's just simple. We are who we are. We do what we do. And if you don't like it, then you should leave. I mean, like, it's no different than the college group. See, and this is going to sound kind of arrogant, maybe. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it doesn't. But like, and I say this to them, like, I don't need this. I'm doing this because I'm trying to help you reach your goals and dreams. I have a very good job, right? So if athlete X says, I'm leaving you, fine, I'm good, right? So that's the thing that helps me just go out there and be genuine and work hard because I'm not doing it for their money. I'm doing it because I care. And I show them that. And when I show them that I care, then they buy in, because I'm not walking around saying, well, where's my payment from this last month or whatever, So when I take on an athlete, I don't take on one because I want the money. I take them on because I see something in them that maybe they don't see in themselves. And like with Andre and Neil, like obviously they've been phenomenal. But because they're both still have a fire in their belly and they want to try to get better, and I'm going to try to help them do that. I think I can help them get better. But they've both been coached really, really, very, very well. They have. But I like that challenge. But, I tell anybody that wants to come here and train that what you cannot do is come in here and go, well, Coach, this is what I'm accustomed to doing because I can't sit behind my desk writing a workout every day being concerned with whether the athlete's going to like the workout. And I'm not going to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's interesting, like you say, with Andre and Nia, because they're both toward the end of their careers, but definitely, still have a fight in the game type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How has the integration been with Grace and Nia?
Well, they're both wonderful people. That starts right there. They're both people that really want to get better, and they understand that when they right now, Grace is quite a bit ahead, and I'll go ahead and say it. Jasmine Camacho Quinn's here as well. So I mean, we've got 3 partners in the world. So, but they're all kind of in different spaces right now because Jasmine and Nia got here late. But at some point in time, in March or April, there's going to be some very high intensity hurdle workouts on our track. Right? And so, but they're all bought into that. It's the same thing when you talk about Andre and Joe and Ariane and Robert Gregory and PJ Austin. I mean, I think Robert Gregory is a slug in that group at 10:04, right? So, there's going to be some very high intensity workouts on the track, but they're all bought into getting better. It's not about them, coming in here and want to be a prima donna and want everything their way. They're all bought into getting better. I really enjoyed watching those three come and, mold with the group, and them being embraced by the group and them embracing the group, because it's been a lot of fun to watch. It really has.
That's really something. So with that kind of 100-meter hurdle talent, what are you predicting for Anna this year in the hurdles?
Like Anna's still coming. She's coming back from the injury, right? I can't give you a percentage, but I can tell you she is light years ahead of where she was a year ago. And you watched Anna, the kind of the light bulb just happens to come on, right? And the light bulb came on earlier this week, so I'm really excited about like really excited about what she's doing right now. Looking forward to that.
Well, keeping with her and just the multi events, I know you have a unique situation in that you have group coaching, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
with her. And so that goes against or kind of contradicts some of the traditional thought of where you need one coach coordinating it all and so forth. How have you been so successful with that?
Well, the first thing is I do coordinate it all, right? So I just like, hey, who wants Anna today? It's not just, no, it's not that at all. But I mean, I coordinate it, and then everybody knows like what when they have her and what the charge is that day. Um, and so what we try to do is, especially with the multi events, sometimes people think that more is better, and we just don't believe that. We try to do things that be specialized to help her get better, and make sure that she gets the sessions. Like sometimes she'll high jump twice a week, sometimes it'll be once, sometimes she'll long jump twice a week. So she never high jumps and long jumps twice a week. So it's either two of one or one of the other all the time. I try to do a full hurdle session with her on a Monday, and we'll come back on Thursday and do just a little light session, you know. But like we just get her in shape and we get her strong. We try to, once we get her shape, get her fit, we try to keep her sharp, you know.
Do you
Because
coordinate certain events together on certain days or
so Monday is she throws a shot put early, and then she comes back, and then uh she hurdles and she high jumps, which is what she does in the meet, right?
well,
And then like on a Saturday, at the end of the week, that's her. So what we do is like, so on Thursdays there's a rotation of events or running events. So the first Thursday is the 200-meter day session. The second Thursday is a 400-meter session, because she runs the 400 and she runs the 400 sometimes. And then the third Thursday is an 800-meter session. And then Friday is just a long jump or a high jump day with a throw. And then Saturday is an extensive tempo day. So Saturday is more of just a way now to flush the system. It's very aerobic. It's not very fast. It might be at 70-second pace, 71-second pace. I'd like Anna to go slower, but she can't seem to right now. So, so I put it on the sheet, and we'll see what we get. But at the end of the day, everything we're trying to do with her right now is we're just trying to keep her healthy. We're trying to help her, not feel like she has to go hard at everything that she does. But most importantly, give her, let her be fresh enough to get something done with the events that she's doing.
how have you worked, or even Nick and whoever else, with her psychologically coming back from the knee injury last year and a half ago?
The thing with the injury is, if you know Anna, she's a bit of a perfectionist and she wants everything right now. And because of how competitive she is, and because of her success in 23, um, uh, so 24, and then she gets hurt in 23, and then nobody really realized how bad she was hurt last year. Basically, she was running around on one leg. And that was, even though it was a very courageous effort, it makes it harder now to come back and trust we're going to get back what we're going to get. I believe it. I know the staff believes it, but we're not her. We didn't experience those emotions and the wild swings of emotions. And but so we just gotta let Anna's one. You gotta let her express herself. And the more we let her express herself, the one again we learn about her. We learn about what she's dealing with, and then it gives us a sense of, okay, so let's help her get her confidence back. But I think it's going really well.
Good, good. Nick, what input do you have on her in the long jump and just psychologically? Because that was the event where she got hurt.
Yeah, I mean it's been tough. There's been a lot of fear in that event for her and overcoming that fear, and she is a warrior. Kind of the same thing Coach Holloway said, the light bulb went off. Really, for me, it was on Tuesday.
Mhm.
Um, and she really started to look like herself. And I got to give Coach Holloway credit. We try and trick Anna sometimes, get her out of her own way. Because Anna will tell you exactly how she's feeling and what she wants to do, and she doesn't always know what she needs and what she should be doing. But I can tell you, Anna and my wife are very close. They spend a lot of, I mean, Anna spends a lot of time at our house, and sometimes I don't even interact with Anna. Anna and my wife will just sit for 3 hours and just, you know, and I don't want to put too much of her personal life in, but her boyfriend is a massive support for her, and she has such a great family life that she can really lean on that family and lean on all her sisters and her dad and her mom, and so she's got a really great support system. But yeah, we've kind of had to pour into Anna in different ways, and I think that's also what makes it special because it isn't just one person. She's got Coach Welty, she's got myself, she's got Coach Worski, she's got Coach Holloway, right? She's getting positive feedback and positive vibes from every single one of, she calls them her team.
Right.
And you know, so it's Anna can, one person can tell Anna something and she cannot believe you. But when 5 to 7 people are telling you, this starts to look good, it's tough to deny that. So I really like where she's at. I think we're in a very good spot. Um, but we're just gonna keep plugging away and it's the Florida way. We'll just
Right.
we'll just keep pouring into her and she'll be great.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, her family support group is awesome. So that definitely helps too with being away from the track, having that kind of support. Do we have any other questions coming up? I don't want to hog all of this. Okay, then I will hog it until you guys come up with some questions here. Coach Holloway, what would you say was your best coaching job, your best meet coaching job
Like last year or in my life?
in your life?
My life. Oh wow. So you're being unfair.
Well, okay, last year then.
No, it's okay. I mean, as the kids say, you chose violence. So, but I mean, okay. So if we're gonna go, man, the best coaching job of my career. So at the high school level, I'm gonna say it was my last year at Buell's High School when we pulled off the both the boys and girls both won the state title. And that one was special because bringing the girls together. We're two like superstars, Yolanda Brown Moore, who ended up winning the 100 to 200 in the long jump and anchoring the 4x1, and Heather Kneffley, who ran the mile, the 2 mile, and the 4x8. But getting the rest of the group to come together and believe that they could help win that meet was special. It's hard to distinguish. I think the winning the women's title in 2022 outdoors, that one was very special. And I'm not going to say that was my best coaching job. That was our best coaching job.
Mm.
There was a lot of time and effort. Everybody contributed to that championship, so that was pretty special. And then I think the 2012 championship on the men's side, our first outdoor championship, was special because coming into this season, you know, people are talking about just giving us the trophy, and then Jeff Demps goes down, and then our All-American decathlete, Gray Horn, who was projected to be no worse than second or third in the multi, goes down, and then we drop the stick in the 4x1, and then like, oh, Florida's done, right? And then then we find a way to pull that one out. That one was really special. So yeah.
Conversely, what has been your most disappointing coaching situation?
Oh man, like the 2016 indoor meet. Every time I walk into Birmingham, Alabama, I just makes me sick to my stomach. We went in there. The women were ranked number one. The men are ranked like fourth or fifth. And I think the men ended up getting like in the top five, but the women were like 17. We just folded, and I to this day could not tell you why. But as I told them that day, hey, that's on me. Clearly, I did something wrong. I'm not sure what we did wrong, but it just felt, it was just one of those things where anything that could go wrong did go wrong, and we just could never come out of it. So But that is one that I would love to forget. I've never I've never had a meet on the men's side, but like, well, the 2022 indoor was hard because Joseph he got COVID, and then he got something with his knee, and it was just bad. And then so he didn't even make the meet. And then my top 200-meter guy, in Joseph's absence, he has he got, I forget what happened. He just decided he didn't want to run. And so now we go from a team that could be, a challenger. I think we were 20. It was, oh my goodness, that was bad. And to make matters worse, my best friend Daryl Anderson walks by me and goes, "Hey, we beat you guys, right?" So, so my response to that was, "I'll see you outdoors, please."
That's right. Don't stir the angry bear. Coach Hughes, how about you?
Yeah, Coach. I had a question just on some of your thoughts in a broad sense on kind of the changing landscape of college sports with NIL, and how does NIL with college athletes somewhat, you have to kind of, you think that's going to lead to them thinking they're pros, kind of like you have your pro group? Your thoughts on that, and then the new roster limits that are coming our way next year?
I don't know how the NIL makes them think they're pros. And if they think they're pros, then they still work for us, right? So since we're the ones, we're still providing a large part of it. And we don't really have an NIL situation with our track team here, so I don't deal with that a lot, or don't deal with it at all, to be honest with you. But I just think that, they should be allowed to make money off their name, image, and likeness. I mean, there's no thought in my mind that says that that's a problem for me. And as far as the roster limit stuff, I think that it's going to help. It's going to hurt the development athlete as far as the athletes you can bring in. Like, we've had a lot of success bringing in 152 and 153 guys, and developing them into 146, 147 guys. I don't know if those guys exist because now I don't have the space on the roster to do that anymore. I do think that you're going to see a lot of people going in the portal. I'll just use us as an example. We have 54 men on our roster. We can only carry 35 next year. That's 19 guys that have to go somewhere, right? And so I think that this is going to help some of the non P4 schools if there's going to be a lot of guys and girls in the portal here. There's got to be patient and go find them. And I think to see that there's also this thing out there about, well, school X has 35 scholarships and school Y only is going to get 20. So the fact that there's more scholarships doesn't change the talent pool. There's still the talent pool is still the same. So those 153 guys I was talking about, now somebody's going to give them, they used to come here for books. Somebody's going to give them 60, 70, 80% because they got the money now, right? So the talent pool didn't change. You just got more money to spend on that same talent pool. And I think what you like you've seen in college football, there's a reason that college football is so much more exciting this year because all the good players aren't on one team anymore. I talked about this morning. We used to see those great quarterbacks. Remember, Alabama had Tua and this guy and that guy, and then I think it was the 1 year Cardell Jones was a fourth string guy at Ohio State, and he led up to a national championship. Those days are done, right? So I think that what we have to do is, if I'm basically the CEO of a corporation, and so I've got these 4 sub companies I got to take care of. I've got to feed my jumps. I've got to feed my throws. I've got to feed the sprints. I've got to speed the distances. But I also have to understand that just because I have 35 roster spots on the men, I don't fill them all at the same time. Because let's say I go out this year and I fill up the roster and I only lose 2 people. So that means I can only recruit 2 people next year, right? So you have to be thinking in the future. You have to be thinking how you want your team to evolve, and you have to be thinking about this from a sustainability issue. So whatever model we're going to create here at Florida has to be sustainable. So I think that if everybody will just calm down a little bit, and like everything else in sports, this is going to work itself out, and then there'll be a path that you can take to be successful with what you're doing. You'll be fine. But the doom and gloom people and all those people, I just think they're just want to be doom and gloom. So I'm gonna let them. I'm not buying into it. I'm not.
Do you have anything else, John, or addition?
No, thank you. Good answer.
Well, you're welcome.
In keeping with that, Coach, and the developmental part, and that's been my interest in the past 5 or 6 years is that it seems like USA men, especially just because of the scholarship limits in the past, it seems like the recruitment of foreigners and the COVID years and all these older athletes staying in, especially on the men's side, that our young USA men have really kind of gotten a raw deal. Is this going to continue then, or you say they'll be going to different level programs, where they
You talk about the jumps.
everything.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we're okay in the sprints. We're okay in the hurdles.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you two sides of that. One, I think the bigger problem you have with the technical events is not so much the talent, but the coaching, because people don't want to learn how to do things. They just want to throw paint at the wall and think they can stick, or they want to reinvent the wheel. Now, we have a plethora of good, not so a plethora, but there's a lot of good jump coaches in this country, but nobody talks to the people that are doing it. Like if I'm a jumps coach, like you know who I call when I'm trying to figure out the high jump, right? I pick up the phone, right? If I'm a jumps coach and I'm not trying to talk to Tom Telez, right? So there's this plethora of history out there, but nobody wants to plug into those people. They want to all reinvent the wheel and say, well, I invented this new technique that did this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think from that standpoint, the problem with the jumps is more so a coaching issue. And also there's the football issue. Because now, especially with all the money, like it'll be interesting to see how many more dual athletes, football track athletes we ever see now at the collegiate level, right? Because if the football guy's getting paid $500,000 a year to be a wide receiver, he ain't coming out from track team.
No.
That's not happening, right?
No.
So I think that, and then the reason with the internationals is because the internationals have been taught a little more. Mm-hmm. So people, again, this is a bad term, but I call them the ready-mades. People want the ready-mades.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the thing that, Coach Peterson and I talked about this. See, we're not afraid to coach here. Like I don't have to have the guy that ran 45 in high school. But the majority of my success with, I'll just use a guy that was just here, Ryan Willie. He was 46.6 in high school. He ran 44.2. Mm-hmm. I'm fully confident with the right guy I can do that. But you have to get the right person. But most people want to go find the 41-second guy. And I'll say it again. Most of those guys don't pan out. Right. They don't. So I think in the United States, and this is something, and I'll give Nick credit for this. He tries to find the 24 high, 25 low guy. Because those are the guys that become the 27 footers. Because most of the guys that jump 26 feet in high school don't always get a lot better.
Right. Yeah, no, I think, like you say, the technical events, and of course, that's my baby, as to we've really got to get going, and like you said, Carl said this a few weeks ago when he was on the call. Nobody is calling him Carl Lewis. Nobody's calling Larry Myricks. Nobody's calling Mike Powell, or not enough people. And we're complaining about the long jumpers.
Right.
So, and I'll testify that, Carl said, not email, send him an Instagram and he'll answer it. And he has.
Mm-hmm.
So, coaches, when these elite coaches, athletes that are coaches and stuff are putting it out there, take advantage of it. Don't sit back and think that you do know everything, because I'm 50 years into this thing and still don't know everything. Definitely not. So
I wake up and think I know everything. I'm turning in my keys.
Exactly.
I've lost my. Yeah, I'm clear on that. And I think the biggest thing, even if I look at my development as a hurdle coach, obviously I plugged into Coach Johnson a lot.
Yeah.
Took David Oliver from a guy that people barely knew to the best guy in the world. So clearly he knew something about what was going on. But I've talked to Nehemiah. Grant has met all these people: Nehemiah, Foster, Alan Johnson. You name all the greats. I made sure that Grant had conversations with them. When we were going to attempt the 60 hurdle, 60-meter double at the NCAA championships, I put him on the phone with Terrence Trammell. My ego's not that big.
Excellent.
Because I can't explain to Grant the mindset required to do that, though. But Terrence knew. So Terrence turned your brother, and I called him up and said, hey, man, I'll put you on the phone with Grant. And I walked away. I have no idea what they said, but it worked.
That is excellent. There we go. Another writer downer. I'll tell you the whole thing. Veronica, what's up?
Yeah, so Mike, when you're talking about, you're saying, okay, I've noticed that the top end kids from high school aren't panning out. What traits or backgrounds or anything like that have you noticed for the kids who aren't the top kids in high school, but then pan out in college? Like what are some common factors that you're seeing?
So I'm going to give you one term: training age, right?
Mm.
So the athlete that is doing very, very intense, high level workouts, the athlete that is racing a lot, that's not the one you want, because like there's only so many bullets in the chamber.
Yeah.
So they're fired all there, and a lot of this is emotional bullets as well. So it's like the go think about it. How many age group phenoms do you ever see make it to the top? Right?
Very few.
They're very few, right? Because they've just been grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And so if you're talking to an athlete and their workouts are just incredible, like, so you have to ask yourself, okay, so I can bring this athlete in here, we can get a little better, but I want the guy that or the girl that's raw, that hasn't been, I had a young half miler that walked on our campus. This dude couldn't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. That excites me. But when the person that walks in, they're a grown man, like, what am I gonna do with this? So and then you set yourself up for failure. So you sign that, like I'll use Jeff Dempsey as an example. Now Jeff Dempsey was a football player and was 20 pounds, maybe 25 pounds heavier than he was in high school. And he ran 10:04 in high school, and his legal PB here was 10:02. But I got more crap for that. But Jeff Dempsey didn't get better. What I would say he did, well, one, because he was playing football the majority of the time. And two, he ran faster as a collegiate than he did as a high schooler. He's 25 pounds heavy. But because he was this superstar, unless he came here and ran 9.7, I was offended. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what you set yourself up for. So like, we want to coach here. We want to develop here. And then, like we'll talk about, Jasmine and Anna. We could have very easily let them come here and just say, just keep them as they are and we'll be fine. But we took that as a challenge. I went to Coach Peterson. I was like, we never had a 15-meter jump in America this time. And you guys know Nick, no problem, let's go. We were determined. There were so many people that said Anna was not going to be good here because of the way we do it. And, we accepted the challenge. So I think that the big thing is there has to be some room for growth. There has to be some space for you to get better and help them get better. And if you can't do that, again, it's hard when you're recruiting not to recruit the really, really fast one. But I want to find, like, I think, I'm going to give my assistant coach Holloway sheer credit for this one. If you go and look at it, a great majority of the short women's sprinters that get to be very, very good won 11.5 and 11.6 in high school. So I'll go all the way back to one of our favorites, Lauren Williams.
Yeah.
I remember watching her. Amy said, we were at the National Indoor Meet. She goes, come over here and watch this with me. We walked over and watched her start. And I was like, oh my God, what's her PB? Oh, she's running like 11.6 or 11.7. I'm like, whoa, she's way better than that. And she said, well, I signed her last week. And then she run 10.8 for Amy, right? Yeah. 3-time Olympian. And yeah.
Yeah.
So don't be like, look, Melissa Jefferson ran 12 flat in high school. Cambria Sturgis ran 12 flat in high school. People, T.T. Terry was 11.4, 11.5 in high school. Right. So there's something to that. So there was something, as my dad would say, there was still some meat left on the bone for you to pick off. It wasn't bare when they got there. So yeah.
So that's a good perspective. And the challenge that I see sometimes, and I'm a distance coach, is that so often now with high school, it's getting a little bit less often, but these kids have dual meets on a Tuesday and then an invitational on a Saturday, or, so they can't help it that they have to race for their school season. So that's kind of where I kind of struggle, where it's like, well, they kind of have to race so much because it's the structure at their end. So how, for you, when you found kids where it's like, hey, like, they have to compete several times a week, how do you distinguish between the kid who's doesn't have much meat on the bone left versus the kid who is forced to compete but has that room for growth?
I'm not concerned about the kid that competes, once or twice a week. I'm more concerned about the athlete that's competing that much, but also training at a significantly high level. That's the ones I'm concerned about. Okay. Because they're doing these very, very intricate and, high level workouts. You have to ask yourself, like again, like where's the room for growth? One of the best stories ever, signed Karan Clement. And Karan Clement would get up in the morning and he'd go out and he'd run 3 or 4 miles. He'd come back in the afternoon, and he'd do starts over a couple of hurdles. Those were his workouts. After he signed here, his high school coach said, "Hey, coach, you think you do it?" I said, "Nope, don't you change a thing. You just keep doing what you're doing, because it was working." But I think that's the thing, is that we sometimes, with the high school and the club levels, these coaches are just trying to get every single thing out of them. And then from an emotional standpoint, when we get them, it's hard. It's hard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, that's an excellent point from both of you, because there's so much, and I'm speaking now as a high school coach, that there's so many club intensities going on right now, and certain the pressure to be at like the Nike indoor and the New Balance indoor and the XYZ indoor, and there's just all these things that a high school kid, by the time they go through 3 or 4 years, the good ones, they've done all this. They've experienced all this. They maybe even made a youth Olympic or world games or whatever. And, where is the hunger possibly going to be when they've won all of that? I mean, I remember a young lady that was a 19-foot long jumper, and this was way, way back. So that again was good at that time, in freshman year in high school. And she's like, "I've made Team USA. I'm going to become a cheerleader," which of course is the bane of my existence. But, it's like, I think sometimes with the youth, we've given them so much and so intense. That's where we get into the internet coaching and things. And you watch these workouts that people post, and who knows if they're accurate or not. But, it's just so intense, like Mike is saying, that the training age is that key thing. That if their training age is 3 or 4, that's one thing. If they've been running intense USA AAU stuff since 8, then that could be a whole different game.
Absolutely.
Any other input? Do we have any club coaches that want to dispute that? I think it's keeping in mind
So
that,
may I go?
oh yeah, who is that, Kelvin?
Yeah, this is Calvin.
Yes, please.
Yes. Hey, Coach, how you doing? How you doing?
Doing
Happy New Year,
for you.
everybody. Coach,
Happy New Year.
could you tell us one more time? Yeah, could you tell us one more time what your September looks like for the collegiate athletes and how quickly you get them in spikes?
Okay. First of all, they spend 3 to 4 weeks in the weight room with our strength coach before we get them. But they are in spikes day one in the grass. Their first day with me is an acceleration development day in the grass in their spikes. And then Monday's acceleration development, speed and power type of day. Tuesday's endurance. Wednesday's recovery. We don't usually in the first part of the season they're off on Wednesday. We don't do anything. And then Thursday's another speed and acceleration day, and then Friday's another endurance day in the grass. So that's our September.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other training questions? And we've got about 8 minutes left here of coach's time. We want to take advantage of that. Okay, VJ, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just put it in the chat. Sorry. When you put them in the spikes on the grass, you use a different spike like in practice rather than like the super spikes they might be using in competition.
And we try not to wear the super spikes until the week of the competition because they're also very fragile. So and like you get like when we first got those things, Joseph Formula would go through 2 or 3 pair in 2 or 3 weeks. It's like just because of the power he puts into them. No, we just try to go with the traditional spike in the grass, and then as we get closer to competition, we'll wear them a few times. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
How much of your time would you say, and let's say maybe fall, winter, spring, do you spend on grass versus track?
Oh man, in the first 5 to 6 weeks it's about 50-50. And there are some weeks where, like they might be in the grass 100% of the time. There are some weeks where they do something in the grass every day. Like I would say in the first 4 weeks, there's at least 2 of those weeks where every day they were on grass because on Mondays and Thursdays they're going to be in the grass accelerating. And then the Friday runs are always in the grass. And then sometimes it depends on what the endurance day is on Thursday. It could be on the grass, or it could be on the track, or it could be on the hill. So it depends. But there are some days early on where they're in the grass every single day.
Yeah, I like how you've got the lanes marked out there. Is that like a big grass field or?
It's just it used to be bigger, but Coach Peterson took about a quarter of it with his two long jump runways he put in there. But
important. That's very important.
But it's wide enough that we could put like 6 42-inch lanes and then take a break and then put 6 or 7 more. So yeah, it's plenty of space.
And the hurdlers are in that same kind of format?
Yeah, like at the very beginning I tried hurdling in the grass, but it just wasn't firm enough.
Oh,
but they don't do any actual hurdling until about week 3 or 4 anyway. That's just with drills. So we do the drills on the track, but just like we talked about with the jumpers, we spend a lot of time on the acceleration mechanics with the hurdlers as well.
What are some key things that you focus on with that versus what you do with your sprinters?
Not be honest with you, there's no difference. The same cues. We're trying to move our center of mass down the track. We're trying to make the initial movement to move the center of mass down the track. We talk about a progression where we're not trying to get from 0 to 10 in 1 or 2 steps. We're trying to progress to 10, if that makes sense. I always talk to them about, okay, so most of them are dancers, right? You don't just come out and start dancing wildly, right? You build to that. So I talk to them a lot about that. But the big thing for me is just, and I'm gonna still turn to my best friend Daryl uses all the time. It's like he calls it movement skills. So teaching them how to move, and if I can, when they're in the grass, they're a lot more likely to be aggressive because they're not as afraid to fall. And it's not as taxing on their joints either. So that's helpful.
Okay, great. VJ, you had a follow up?
Yeah, you mentioned about not hurdling on the grass, but do you do it on turf because it's a more flat surface, or just mainly on the track?
Any turf.
Sorry?
I don't have any turf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Turf could be a blessing and a curse, depending on what you want to do with it. Any other questions? Well, Coach, you've mentioned about Brooks Johnson being a mentor. What are in closing, what would be some of the reasons to have a mentor for some of our coaches here that don't?
Okay. Before I answer that, I want to also give, Ralph Mann passed away.
Yeah.
And talk about how, his contributions to this sport, to USA Track and Field, to track and field as a whole was just amazing. And, he's another guy, I got introduced to him and Andy and that crew. And, that helped change my career because it made me take a deeper dive and a deeper look into, again, what I like Daryl and I call movement skills. That was really helpful with that. I'm going to stir the pot a little bit. We were most successful in the relay when we had Andy do a video for us. So I'm going to leave that alone. But I mean, the importance of a mentor is paramount. I don't think I know without the great mentors I've had in my life that I wouldn't be where I am. Without Brooks Johnson, without Ed Stone, without my mom, there's no way I am where I am today. But the big thing is, who is your mentor? And I think there's a quote, I think it's by Gandhi, that says, the sign of a great leader is not by how many followers you have, but how many leaders you create. And that's the key, is somebody that's your mentor helping you become a leader. Are they giving you the tools? I talk about a toolbox. So if you're one of my mentees, I'm going to continue to give you tools to put in the toolbox, but you got to go pull them out, right? So if you're listening to somebody, I've had people call and say, Coach, will you be my mentor? Sure, no problem. And then the next time I see them, well, you haven't called me. Well, if you're my mentee, your job is to call me, right? Not the other way around. So if you're going to ask somebody to be your mentor, make sure it's somebody that can help you get better. Make sure it's somebody that can help you become a leader, and help you somebody that can help you become other people become leaders as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Coach, thank you so very much for your time today. And again, the Amazon book link is there in the chat. And he won't be a plugger of it probably, but I will be. So again, that's I think anytime I see a book written by a track coach or a coach that I kind of look up to that's been successful, whether library, buy it, whatever, I get it because you get tidbits out of it that you can implement regardless of where you are, what setting you are. And
I like the term a writer downer. I like that one.
there you go. Well, this Amazon link now is a writer downer, but
and guys, if you buy the book and you bring it to a track meet, I promise you I will sign it. I'm not going to ever turn anybody away from that. And again, I just want this book to be able to kind of tell my story and give you guys a better understanding of who I am and why I am, and the reasons why Coach Peterson thinks I'm crazy. So,
and the next book
It's a
will
good
be
crazy.
Peterson, right?
Yeah.
I'm not much of a writer. I'll let Coach Holloway tell his story.
Yeah. First of all, if he writes it, he's going to have to transcribe it because his handwriting is horrific.
I'll type it.
You'll have to
Okay.
type. If he
We'll have
writes
a
it,
typing. Well, great. Well, good luck to the Gators. You guys competing this weekend?
No, man. We open up on the 17th and 18th at Texas Tech.
Okay, great. Well, good luck with everything and everybody else that's going to be starting out here. We look forward to outstanding 2025 from everybody. So have a great weekend and stay warm, everybody that's in this.
Yeah. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Night, guys.
Bye.
Good night. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Coach Mouse.
Oh, no problem.
Guys.
Thanks,
Coach.
Mouse.